The cage of glass. The zoo didn't call her a prisoner. They called her an exotic life form. They called her Exhibit Delta 17. But to Kellen Rhodes, the human who stopped in front of the glass cage one rainy afternoon, she didn't look like a monster. She looked like a girl who didn't understand why she was in a cage. The alien girl sat in the corner of her enclosure. Her skin shimmered with soft violet-blue light. Her long, silver hair was tangled and unwashed. Small, glowing dots pulsed gently across her cheeks, almost like freckles. Her clothes were thin, worn, and clearly not her own. And her eyes? Her eyes looked like a lost kitten's, not afraid of everything, just afraid that no one would ever come for her. Kellen stood there for a long time. People walked past him, families, kids, laughing, taking pictures. "Is that one dangerous?" someone asked behind him. "Nah," replied the security bot. "That one doesn't even talk. Quiet type, harmless." But Kellen saw something no one else did. When the girl looked up, their eyes met, and in that moment, she didn't blink. Neither did he. He stepped closer to the glass. Her hand slowly lifted, shaky, unsure. Then she pressed her palm to the transparent wall, hesitating, waiting. Kellen's hand lifted too. Gently, he pressed his palm to hers, glass in between, but connection made. "You don't belong here," he whispered. That night, back at his apartment, Kellen couldn't sleep. He tried not to think about her, tried not to remember the way her shoulders curled in, like someone always waiting to be hit, or the way she flinched when the zookeeper bot tossed her food without looking, like an animal. But the next day he came back, and the next. Each time, she looked more alert. She began to sit up straighter when she saw him. She began to smile, just a little, just for him. Until one day, she traced something on the glass with her finger. A shape, a simple curve, a circle. Then she pointed to herself. "Your name?" he asked, softly. She nodded. He pulled out a small tablet and drew a question mark. She nodded again, then wrote a symbol back. It looked like 3 stars and a river. He repeated it, slowly. "Luma," she blinked, then smiled again. Her name was Luma. And Kellen realized something terrifying. She wasn't some mindless creature. She wasn't a dangerous alien. She was a girl, intelligent, gentle, and trapped. "Why are you here, Luma?" he asked. She pointed upward, then placed her hands in a box shape. Kellen felt his stomach twist. A crash, a capture, a cage. He knew he had to do something, he just didn't know what. But he did know this: Luma wasn't an exhibit, and he wasn't going to walk away anymore. The human who came back. Most people visited the alien zoo once, some twice. But Kellen Rhodes came every day, rain or shine, morning or late, always to the same exhibit, always to her. The staff started to notice. "That guy's back again," a board worker muttered. "You'd think he'd get tired of that sad little blue thing. She doesn't even talk." They shrugged and moved on. But Kellen stayed, and Luma noticed. Each time he came, she was waiting now, right near the glass wall. She had begun to copy his expressions. When he smiled, she smiled. When he frowned, she did too. She was learning him, and more importantly, she was trusting him. One day he brought a sketch pad. He sat near the barrier and drew something, a tree. Then he showed it to her. Luma stared, eyes wide. She reached out and carefully traced the shape on her side of the glass. Then she picked up a small stone and scratched something back on the floor. A strange-looking plant. Alien, but beautiful. "Is that from your world?" Kellen asked. She nodded slowly, then pressed her hand against the glass again. His followed. Their palms met, always separated by just a few millimeters of transparent cruelty. That night, Kellen did something reckless. He pulled out an old encrypted datapad and accessed records he wasn't supposed to have. He had been part of the cleanup crew after the crash. The incident near Lunar Base 12. The one where a strange ship fell from the stars and a single life form was recovered. No one told the public because there was a survivor, and they locked her in a zoo. He stared at the screen, jaw clenched. "She's not some lab sample," he whispered. "She's a person." And they were hurting her. Every single day. The next time he visited, he brought something hidden under his jacket. It was small, risky, but it meant everything. A soft black communication patch, the kind used for emergency translation across species. He waited until no one was looking. Then he leaned close to the glass and held up the patch. Luma tilted her head. "I want to hear your voice," he said softly. "Do you want to try?" She stared for a long time, then slowly nodded. He slid the device through the feeding port, where zookeepers usually shoved nutrient trays. She picked it up gently, like it might break, then pressed it to her neck. The lights blinked, the connection synced, and then a soft, shaky voice filled the air. "Hello, Kellen." He froze. Her voice was calm, musical, almost too soft to hear. But it was real, alive. "Your name," she whispered again. "It means protector?" "Something like that," he said, swallowing. She placed her hand on the glass once more. "You came back," she said, "every day." "I told you," he whispered. "I see you." Luma's expression changed. Sadness, yes, but also something stronger. Hope. And that was when the alarm blared. A mechanical voice echoed through the zoo. "Unauthorized tech detected in Delta 17's enclosure." Kellen jumped up. Guards were already on the move. Luma clutched the device tight. "No," he yelled. "It's not a weapon." But no one cared. No one ever did. Glass doors slammed shut. Lights flashed, and Kellen was dragged away by 2 security bots. His last glimpse was of Luma's face, eyes wide with fear, her fingers pressed to the glass where his hand had just been. Separated, again, but now by more than glass. She spoke for the first time. The guards thought she was harmless. They always had, small, quiet, obedient. But they had never heard her speak. Not once. Not until now. Luma sat frozen in her glass cell. The human, Kellen, was gone, taken, dragged away, the moment his tech set off the alarms. She didn't know where he was. Only that the only kind face she'd ever seen had vanished, and they'd called him a threat, because he cared. Her hands shook. The little black translator patch still clung to her neck, hidden under her hair. She didn't understand all the words it fed into her brain, but she understood enough. And now, her body burned with something new, something deep. Anger. The next morning, the zookeepers returned. They approached with scanners, checking her vitals like she was livestock. She didn't look at them. Not until one of them smirked. "Guess your human boyfriend got himself banned, huh?" Luma turned her head. Slowly, deliberately, and said in perfect English, "You should be afraid of what comes next." The man jumped back. What? His scanner dropped to the ground. Luma stood. She had never stood tall before, not since the crash. But now, she rose like a queen forgotten, eyes glowing, back straight, and voice steady. "His name is Kellen, and he is coming back." "You're not supposed to talk," the other guard shouted. "Neither are you supposed to cage sentient beings," she replied coldly. They didn't know how to respond, because no one had ever heard her speak like this, and they were beginning to realize she wasn't an animal, she was a witness, a victim, a voice. Meanwhile, in the lower levels of the facility, Kellen sat handcuffed in a cold interrogation room. A tall, silver-suited government man stood across from him. "You violated multiple regulations," the man said. "Interfered with classified biological assets. Introduced foreign tech. Do you even understand the danger?" "The danger," Kellen said slowly, "is that you think she's a thing." "She's intelligent," the man snapped. "That makes her even more dangerous." Kellen leaned forward, eyes burning. "She has a name. She has feelings. She's not a damn science project." Silence. Then the man stood and tapped a button on the table. "We'll let the lawyers figure this out. You're off the visitation list indefinitely." Back in the zoo, Luma stopped eating, stopped responding. But when no one was looking, she began scratching something into the wall with her clawed fingernails. A symbol. Over and over. A shape like a flame rising from a cage. She didn't know what it meant to humans, but it was the sign her people used for resistance. 2 days later, a young intern walked past her exhibit. He stopped, stared, then slowly approached the glass. You talked?" he whispered. Luma nodded once. "Can you talk again?" She looked at him with calm, glowing eyes. "Tell the one in charge," she said, "I will not be quiet anymore." News began to spread. An alien exhibit, speaking, thinking, questioning. It reached command centers. It reached broadcast whispers. And, most importantly, it reached Kellen. A guard, secretly sympathetic, slid him a small device. The message was short, but it made Kellen's heart race. It was Luma's voice. "I am not afraid anymore." The broken system. The zoo wasn't just a zoo, not anymore. News spread quietly, through terminals, encrypted whispers, and military rumor channels. The alien girl talked, not screamed, not grunted, spoke, with words, emotion, reason. To some, it was a miracle. To others, a problem. A big problem. They called her Specimen Delta 17. But now, everyone was saying her real name, Luma, even the guards, even the scientists. They whispered it like it had power. Because it did. In the command center, 3 men stared at a paused video. Luma standing tall, eyes glowing, voice calm. "Tell the one in charge, I will not be quiet anymore." "This isn't good," one muttered. "What if the other exhibits start acting like her? Worse," the third one said. "What if people start siding with her?" Meanwhile, Kellen sat in a cold government holding cell. No charges, no trial. Just silence. Until a voice crackled through the speaker. "You've caused quite the mess, Mr. Rhodes." He recognized the tone. Cold, bureaucratic, calculated. The same voice from the lab. "She was never supposed to speak," the voice continued. "And you were never supposed to matter." Kellen smiled bitterly. "Yeah? Well, you underestimated us both." "She's not special," the voice replied. "She's just a mistake we contained." Kellen stepped closer to the wall, eyes fierce. "Then why are you so afraid of her?" No reply. Just a click. Silence. Back at the zoo, Luma was moved. They didn't put her in the regular enclosure anymore. She was transferred underground. No more glass walls. Now, solid steel. No contact. No voice allowed. But someone forgot to check. Her claws, even in silence while she scratched. That same flame symbol. Over and over and over. One night, the lights flickered, just for a second. Then a soft mechanical whir echoed through her room. A panel in the wall shifted, and from the shadows, a face appeared. "Miss Luma?" She stood, wary, but ready. A young woman in lab. Gear stepped into view, intern badge, nervous hands. "Don't be afraid," she whispered. "I'm here because of Kellen." Luma's eyes widened. Hope. Again. "Where is he?" "Held. Off-world. but alive. The intern held out a small communicator. He sent you something. Luma took it slowly. The device blinked. His voice played, rough, but warm. Luma, I'm still here. I haven't given up, and I swear. I'll find a way. Tears welled in Luma's glowing eyes. Not weakness, strength. She looked at the intern. Then I'll be ready. At the same time, in the facility above, protesters were beginning to gather. Not many, but enough. Signs appeared. She is sentient. Let her speak. No more cages, and then a leak. Footage of her voice, of her drawing, her sadness, her human eyes in an alien face. The world saw, and not everyone agreed with the silence anymore. The protester and the plan outside the zoo, a small crowd stood with signs and shivering hands. The air was cold, but the fire in their eyes was burning brighter each day. Most of them were students. A few were scientists, 1 or 2 ex-military, but in the center of the group was someone unexpected. A woman in her 40s, short, with sharp eyes behind glasses. Her name was Marin Gray, a journalist. And unlike the others, she wasn't there to protest. She was there to break the truth open. Marin had seen the leaked footage, an alien girl with glowing eyes, not angry, not violent, just afraid, alone, intelligent. And she saw the same thing the human soldier had seen, eyes like a lost kitten. Inside the underground cell, Luma sat on the floor, listening to the soft buzz of the comm device. Kellen's message had played so many times, she could mouth the words. I'm still here, I haven't given up. But this time the device blinked again. A new message. They're organizing, said a young woman's voice. You're not forgotten. Your name is trending on EarthNet. Luma looked up. Hope was dangerous, but now it was contagious. Back above ground, Marin found the intern. Yes, the same one who had passed Luma the device. The girl's name was Rin, scared, shaky, but ready. They'll fire me if they find out, Rin said. They'll fire you, Marin said, but they won't stop the story. She showed Rin a tablet. On it, headlines starting to pop up. Alien sentient locked in zoo cell, shocking footage emerges. From specimen to voice, the story of Luma. Is this humanity's first ethical failure? Rin gulped. What do we do? We go deeper, Marin replied. We find where they're hiding her now. That night, while security rotated shifts, a power flicker ran through the underground grid. 3 seconds, just long enough. Rin and Marin slipped through a side service hall using old credentials, every step echoing like thunder. They reached the cell. Luma was sitting, back to the door. She didn't turn when it opened, not until Marin spoke. Luma, I'm not here to study you, I'm here to help. The alien girl turned slowly, eyes glowing soft blue in the dim light. Why? She asked. Marin knelt down beside the glass. Because when I looked into your eyes, I didn't see a creature. I saw a child, a sister, a person. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, Luma pressed her hand to the glass. This time, Marin pressed hers back. You've suffered enough, Marin whispered. It's time they heard your voice. They smuggled out one final video. It was short, raw, just. Luma sitting in her dark cell, looking directly into the camera, and saying only this. I want to go home. It hit the net like lightning. Overnight views exploded. Hashtags flooded the feed. Let Luma speak. No more cages. Voice of the voiceless. And people listened. Because for the first time, the alien wasn't fiction. She was someone. The government responds. The storm had started, but the government still believed it could control the lightning. It's just a trend, the Minister of Xenology said. It'll fade. But it didn't fade. It spread. And when the video of Luma saying, I want to go home, reached over 30 million views in 48 hours. The silence cracked. Across Earth and colonies, people began asking questions, hard ones. Why is she in a cage? Why wasn't the public told she could speak? Why is there no trial, no translator, no basic rights? Universities suspended contracts with the Xenological Research Authority. Journalists flew in. Lawyers filed emergency petitions. And outside the zoo, the protests became a camp. Inside her steel cell, Luma sat against the wall. She hadn't eaten. In 2 days, they'd stopped her messages. No more voices from Kellen. No updates from Rin or Marine. Just silence. But she wasn't afraid now. She was waiting. In a high-security war room, 6 officials argued over what to do. One slammed his hand on the table. We're being attacked by our own people because of a glowing girl in a box. Another hissed. She's not just a girl. She's a message, and we lost control of it. A third official finally spoke. Move her, quietly, before the court order arrives. Marin found out through a friend in logistics. They're transferring her at night, the message read. Off-planet, probably Mars, you have hours. She and Rin didn't wait. They called the only person who could still fight from inside the system, Kellen. Kellen had been released weeks ago, but kept under surveillance. He couldn't speak to the press, couldn't step within 10 miles of the zoo. But when Marin told him Luma was being taken away, he didn't hesitate. We stopped them, he said. The plan was risky. The transport ship was scheduled to leave at 02 small craft. No escorts. Unregistered. If it disappeared during a protest diversion, the authorities would never admit it. At 1:43 a.m., the protests outside grew louder. Smoke bombs. Chants. Dozens of people blocking roads. At 1:47, Rin disguised herself as a maintenance technician and slipped into the transport hangar. At 1:51, Marine hacked the lock on the ship's side panel. At 1:53, Kellen climbed inside, and at 1:56 a.m., Luma was led out of the dark basement. She didn't speak, didn't resist. She just walked quietly with 2 guards, until she saw the transport and saw the blinking light inside the cabin window. The signal. Her hand tightened. For the first time in days. She smiled. The moment the guards turned, Kellen stepped out and moved fast. A stun baton cracked. One guard dropped. Rin threw a flash spark. The other staggered, and Luma ran, not away but toward, straight into the ship. The door sealed shut. The engines roared, and as security swarmed the area, the ship vanished. Silent. Gone. Back on the net, a new video appeared. Luma sitting beside Kellen in a quiet hidden cabin, her voice calm, eyes glowing soft. I was captured. I was silent. I was studied. But I am not your specimen. I am not your animal. I am Luma, and I am free. The New World. The small stolen ship drifted in orbit, hidden behind the shadow of Earth's moon. Inside, Luma looked out the window, her fingers resting against the glass. Not a barrier this time, but a gateway. Below, Earth spun silently. Blue, bright, alive, but not safe. Not yet. Kellen sat across from her, checking readouts. He hadn't slept in hours. We've bought time, he said. But they'll come looking. Luma didn't answer right away. She was thinking, feeling. For so long, she had only seen humans, through steel bars and glass walls. But now, one had stood beside her. Another had smuggled her messages. A girl had risked her job. A woman had risked her name. Maybe not all humans are cruel, she said softly. No, Kellen replied. Some of us just forgot what it means to care. On Earth, the response was bigger than anyone expected. After the escape, the video of Luma's declaration hit over 100 million views in 2 days. More alien rights protests erupted across Earth and its colonies. International leaders held emergency meetings. And finally, something changed. The zoo division was shut down. The officials responsible were suspended. investigated. The zoo's underground cells were opened. 4 other species, nonverbal, non-threatening, were quietly released back. Home and Luma's name. It became a symbol for what happens when the voiceless are finally heard. Weeks passed. Marin published a book. Rin started an alien rights foundation, and Kellen, he stayed in orbit, with Luma. She had nowhere else to go. Her homeworld was still unreachable, but she wasn't alone anymore. One morning, Kellen brought her a small device. "It's old tech," he said, smiling, "but I thought you might want to speak to more people." Luma held the transmitter. "More humans?" "More than that." He pressed a button. "All frequencies open," the display read. For a moment, Luma hesitated. Then she stepped forward and spoke. "To all who can hear me, I was once kept behind glass, treated like a thing. But one human saw my eyes. He saw a person." She looked at Kellen, then back at the camera. "Maybe peace begins there." And so it did. Her message was translated into 117 languages, shared across networks, taught in schools. Not just a story of escape, a story of awakening, a reminder that compassion is a choice. And sometimes, the ones we lock away are the ones who end up setting us free.